So does this go beyond bullying? Joining me now is anti-bullying expert Jodee Blanco. Thanks so much for being here. Of course, the author of Please Stop Laughing at Me. And Jodee, you probably heard the story as I did.
Yes.
Does this rise to the level of bullying, or is it something far more sinister in your estimation?
Well, I travel around the country and I speak in schools. I'm a survivor, and I see things like this all the time. And what I call this, Michaela, is the dark side of bullying. And the dark side of bullying has very specific characteristics. It's when something starts out as just a joke. It's when something starts out as bullying related. A group of mean popular kids, what I call elite tormentors, typically hatch a scheme, and they're not aware of the reality of the consequences. Once they cross that line, where you're talking about premeditated intentions that could cause death, that's the dark side of bullying. And I see it more and more frequently when I go into schools and I do my anti-bullying work and I speak. I see it more and more, and I see the acceleration of it.
So let's talk about that then, Jodee. I'll talk about that in a second, but I want to stop there because I think that in and of itself is very concerning, that you're seeing more of this dark side of bullying, this lack of empathy, this cruelty. Do we understand why that is happening?
I understand it, yes. I think there are two fundamental reasons. Number one of the things I teach at schools is compassion. And I also teach parents that it's not enough to just raise your children in a compassionate home. You have to actively reinforce what compassion is. You have to teach them when they're watching a violent show on TV, stop. Discuss it. Discuss the difference between the reality of the violence they're seeing and the reality of what it's making them feel. That's what we need to do. And because we've become lost in our cell phones, and because our culture is accelerating vengeance and the glorification of vengeance, because we have a government that's bullying by its nature, kids are becoming less and less sensitized, and the adults aren't doing anything to refocus them on compassion.
How do we do that then, Jodee?
And schools need to.
How do we do that?
Schools and parents.
Okay, schools and parents. Give us some quick tips for parents, because I think folks are struggling with this.
Number one, when you're watching a TV show with your kids and it's violent, at the end of the TV show, have a family discussion. Discuss what happened. Discuss the morality of it. Discuss how it made everyone feel. Lead with truth and compassion in conversations that you have with your kids. For schools, in social studies, don't just study history, study current events. Discuss what's going on in the world. Discuss the refugees. Ask these kids to talk about how much those kids who have no home and have no food feel. If you want your kids to be more compassionate, as a family, go to a local homeless shelter and serve food to the homeless.
Those are great
Bring them
ideas.
to an animal shelter to volunteer. Compassion,
exercise
Michaela,
that empathy.
And parents who are listening,
muscle.
It's a muscle. You must exercise it. Absolutely.
Jodee Blanco, thank you so much for your passion. Hopefully this message is getting across to people. We appreciate it.
I hope so. Thank you.
Absolutely.